The Nintendo Entertainment System, a console built by a company that remains an industry leader thanks to the incredible popularity of their in-house intellectual property.
Few third-party games developed for the NES were able to accomplish the feat of becoming enduring icons. So the incredible mark Konami was able to make with their contributions to the NES library is quite remarkable. In addition to some very solid sports entries and highly regarded licensed games, Konami was able to give birth to 3 mega franchises on the NES. Many titles in the Konami family of games were instantly recognizable in the distinctive silver Konami box, and the company gave birth to the most famous hack in the history of gaming.
All of these elements contribute to the induction of the very first RGC Hall of Fame member, Contra.
The Contra series has had its ups and downs throughout the years, but the very first Contra, an arcade hit expertly ported to the NES, remains a load-bearing game for the legacy of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Contra represents everything the NES could accomplish. Game design that works within the limitations of the hardware to create not only a great gaming experience at the time, but also a great gaming experience now.
Let us look back now at what it is that makes Contra the remarkable game it is, as a newly crowned and inaugural member of the RGC Hall of Fame.
As with so many other NES games, Contra was originally designed to devour quarters from arcade gamers' pockets. Released in February of 1987, Contra tapped into the trends of Hollywood action movies of the time. Bulging steroid-fueled muscles absorbing the recoil of high-powered, high-capacity automatic assault weapons, cutting down nameless foreign-born entities in a xenophobic euphoria, often extending past the homegrown threats of our own planet Earth. The cover art of the North American release of the game featured 3 not-so-subtle homages to Hollywood's most lucrative action franchises. Despite the blatant stolen glory, Contra would rise to prominence not by playing on gamers' desires to simulate their favorite cinematic experiences of the time, but rather by providing an immaculately crafted gaming experience. A brilliant high-wire act balancing satisfying gameplay and difficulty. A game that is hard to master, but not frustrating to master. Gameplay mechanics that can be learned in mere seconds, but will require several hours to hone to perfection. So it was no surprise Konami aimed to port their successful arcade shooter to the most popular home console of the time as quickly as possible. 1 year after Contra's arcade release, a NES version of the game was on store shelves. The game was brilliantly redesigned to function on the 8-bit system's limited hardware. While certain graphical concessions had to be made, the game remains one of the most aesthetically appealing games in the NES's history. Boss battles are spectacles. Each one presents the player with a unique visual experience, as well as a unique battle. The levels are also unique experiences, with distinctive designs and new challenges. These level designs also serve as storytellers, lending to a sense of progression as the player advances from locale to locale, bringing them ever closer to the invading alien lair and a final confrontation with the alien heart. All of these breathtaking visuals are accompanied by a fantastic driving score.
One of the most enduring contributors to Contra's success and fame is the game's difficulty. Finishing the game with the sparsely allotted extra lives and continues is a monumental undertaking.
However, players can invite a friend to help them complete their mission. After all, as is revealed on the box art, Contra is a game with 2 protagonists, Commandos Bill Mad Dog Riser and Lance Scorpion Bean, whose mission it is to infiltrate the alien Red Falcon's lair in the Amazon jungle. If playing with 2 isn't an option, gamers can also employ the most famous cheat code in video game history. At the title screen, input, well, you know what? I better not say. It is a secret code after all. This will give gamers 30 extra lives instead of 3.
Have I ever beaten Contra without using the code? Absolutely not.
The beauty is that the game is still no walk in the park, even with all those extra lives. The code makes the game more playable, but not so easy that it isn't fun anymore. You are dropped into the Amazon jungle and immediately begin cutting through attacking enemies and turrets on your way to the first Red Falcon base. Once inside, the perspective changes as you push further into the base, eventually confronting the boss, Garma Kilma. With Garma Kilma vanquished, you begin your ascent of the waterfall towards the second Red Falcon base. Before entering the base, you must fight the shadow beast, Gromades. This visually stunning boss fight is a real standout. Base number 2 offers a few new curveballs, but is basically the only level that feels like a reordering of a previous one. The boss fight against the Phantom Image Core Gotomuga I find more annoying than any of the others. Gotomuga's ability to split and create illusions of itself means the boss is not always vulnerable. Shot timing here is crucial since the window of opportunity is more narrow than at any other point in the game. After defeating Gotomuga, it's back to the surface. The change in altitude has replaced the humid jungle with a snow-swept mountainside field. In addition to having to dodge explosives tossed from the forest cover, this level introduces a mini-boss, Dagra, the armored sweeping vehicle. At the end of the snowfield is an entrance to the energy zone, but before entering you'll have to deal with the mini-ship launching, bomb tossing, and cloaking-enabled anti-gravity shuttle. The energy zone relies heavily on stationary gunners and flame-spewing torches to slow your progress. At the end of the level, you must fight Gordea, the helmeted demon gigantic god. He guards the entrance to the hangar. Once in the hangar, patience is the name of the game. There are many timed claw obstacles and other mechanical traps that will require cautious advancement. The end of this stage leads to the final stage of the game, the Alien Lair. I think this stage is absolutely gorgeous. Call it xenomorph chic? Early in the stage, you meet the first half of Red Falcon himself, Java. This toothy, horned menace spews freshly boiled space prawns, but is pretty easily dealt with. But that old adage about cutting off the head of the snake apparently doesn't apply here. You will have to continue further into the alien lair to find the alien heart. The heart is flanked by 4 pulsating orifices that will constantly spawn alien larvae. This is the heart's only line of defense. Finish off the source of the larvae, or just avoid them and keep hammering the heart until it's game over for Red Falcon.
Beating Contra was a mile-marker accomplishment for many young NES players in the 1980s. Beating it without the Konami code was an even more tremendous feat.
The current speedrun world record for Contra on the NES is 9 minutes and 47 seconds. A game that can be beaten faster than it takes to warm up a batch of chicken tenders in the oven. But its replayability is as endless as the re-eatability of those chicken tenders. Contra is classic gaming comfort food. You want to keep going back to it no matter how many times you've beaten it. And what other criteria is really needed when picking a Hall of Fame game?
Contra checks all the boxes, and that's why I'm making it my first Hall of Fame pick. Thank you for watching.